Alrighty. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab episode number 134. Today, we're going to be talking about asking reviews for your WordPress business with our friend Chris Badgett. Before we go and introduce Chris, we're going to introduce ourselves. But before we begin with that, I want to let you know that this particular episode of WP Watercooler is brought to you by Desktop Server, makers of ServerPress. Make sure you go over to their website over at serverpress.com, where you can actually have 3 websites locally developed on your computer, and you'll be able to push those out to any of the web hosts that are out there and do any of that fun stuff. So feel free to go to take a look at that over at serverpress.com. And also, we have another sponsor we're going to be talking about later on, which is Kinsta. So we'll be talking about them over at our 40-minute mark. So stay tuned. Bridget, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Bridget Willard, and I am currently melting here in Southern California and can't speak words completely. I do WordPress marketing for WordPress agencies and services, content marketing, social media, that kind of stuff. Occasionally, I accidentally pay my clients, but that's another funny story for another day. You can read more at bridgetwillard.com.
Awesome. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog. And I do this show as well as another show called WP Watercooler. You can go take a look at that. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific, we're going to be talking about some pretty interesting stuff. If you're someone who runs a meetup or somebody who manages any kind of WordCamps, where we talk about conflict of interest, which is going to be very interesting. And we're going there, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So So go over to our website over at wpwatercooler.com/subscribe, and that's where you can subscribe to this content as well as all the other content that happens on the network. So, Chris, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. So I help people who build websites for the expert industry. LifterLMS makes it easy to create, sell, and protect engaging online courses from your WordPress website. My co-founder's name is Thomas Levy. We've been around for about 5 years with that product. Huge WordPress fans. I also have a podcast for course creators called LMS Cast. So check that out.
Nice.
So we're going to talk about ratings. And there used to be a hashtag 1-star ratings in real life. Matt Cromwell and a bunch of those guys had some fun with it. Like, your courseware doesn't allow you to book a hotel reservation, 1 star. Doesn't come in the right box, 1 star. And it is funny that on the .org, you do have 10 1-star reviews. Yeah. I would hate to read it, although I would love to do a Jimmy Kimmel kind of actors read mean tweets. That would be so funny with 1-star reviews. Just have plugin authors run those. But you do have over 100 5-star reviews. So clearly, you know how to get good reviews and that kind of thing. So we were hoping that for our audience, who are primarily WordPress developers and agencies, to kind of give insight in how do you ask for a review?
Yeah. So, some people see me as like a sales and marketing guy, but I'm not actually a natural sales and marketing person. My background comes from anthropology and understanding people and coaching and leadership and stuff like that.
That is the best kind of sales.
So for me, asking for the sale or closing or following up and asking for a review is not something I do naturally. I learned that I had to do that. And if we do the math for a second, you were saying I have a LifterLMS, our plugin. So we have a free, powerful plugin on the WordPress plugin repository. That's our contribution to the WordPress community. And then we have paid add-ons. So I get all kinds of different reviews through different channels, and I'll explain how that works. But first, let's look at the math. LifterLMS has almost 10,000 active users right now and only 100 reviews. That means only 1% actually who are active right now, and there've been more who have gone inactive, but so basically less than 1% actually leave a review. And in order to get those reviews, I learned early on that I had to ask for them. And I also had to be okay with, like, I would never like pay for a review or incentivize a review, but in some of our like onboarding, like way down in the emails, it's like, hey, would you mind leaving a review? I'll send an email once a quarter. Hey, would you mind leaving a review? I'll post on social media. Hey, would you mind leaving a review on the Facebook group? Would you mind leaving a review? We even instrumented our software. I find it really annoying when a plugin asks for a review right after you install it, because it's like, I don't know. I don't have an opinion yet. I'm new. So just hold on a second. But when our plugin, when someone I forget the line they cross, when they cross like 50 enrollments or something in their course in something, then it has a prompt like, hey, we'd really appreciate a review, positive, negative, or neutral. Your feedback is always welcome, and it really motivates the team. And that actually started working.
That makes a lot more sense, because Astra's on mine, and they're like, we see you installed Astra. Leave us a review. And I'm like, nope, already did. Not going to do it. I still can't get rid of that banner.
Yeah. It's so that's the thing. And there's a lot. I mean, then also I have users that that don't know how to use WordPress. They don't have a login. They're coming through paid channels, and I have a different way of basically collecting reviews through a form, like, and then I publish them on the website. So I mean, there's more, but I don't know, where do you guys want to go with this?
Well, I think where you were starting at first with figuring out when was a good time to send out those emails, and how, I mean, emails are great because like you already have the mailing list, you already have people that are engaged in your content, you already have people that are willing to click on the stuff that you put out there, especially if the only thing you've put out there is good, solid content just for those people. You're not spamming them with a bunch of extra junk. You're just saying like, hey, you're a customer of ours, you use our product, you must like it because you haven't left yet. Let me send you some more stuff. So like, how far into that, you know, that either the drip campaign that you're doing or the way that you're kind of building this thing out, do you start sending out those types of emails?
For the parts that are automated in the follow-up, it is probably a couple of months before I'm even asking for that. And my general approach to follow-up emails, and I've destroyed our funnel multiple times, like, because I learn as I'm in business longer. I don't like pissing off people. I don't like it when when my open rates are declining. So I'm constantly trying to make sure I'm sending the right message at the right time to the right person. And so I'm getting ready to blow it up again and do it all over again. But I do like 3 value pieces. Like, so this is after the sale, so we're not in prospect land. 3 value pieces, and then like some kind of ask, or like hey, did you know we also have this other thing, or whatever. And one of those asks, like way down, a couple months in, is, hey, would you mind leaving a review? So it comes way later.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I think especially if you're doing any type of WordPress plugin or theme, and you're trying to do this, if you have a very complicated product, and that complicated product requires a lot of hand-holding in order to be able to make happen, for one, you probably have a problem there, and you need to like address the onboarding of your customer as they're using your product. But let's say that, you know, it takes a month for somebody to be able to really use your product and be happy with it. You should probably wait more than a month, because the last thing you want to do is be like, you know, they're in the throes of trying to get your thing to work, and they're all ticked, and then they get an email from you saying like, hey, leave us a 5-star review. And they're like, heck no, 1-star review. Your things drive me crazy. No way. So I think you need to figure that part of it out, and before you even start, you know, sending those sorts of things out.
Yeah, I just want to add one more note. Like, a lot of people, at least in marketing, they read Robert Cialdini's book about influence, and one of the rules of influence is social proof. And people get that in their head, and they're like, I need testimonials. I need lots of testimonials. But like, it's kind of like SEO is, you can't, there's only so much engineering. Like, good SEO kind of happens naturally. So does good reviews and word of mouth. You can accelerate it with some automation and some asking and stuff, but there's like a human way that it actually happens. It's not a matter of just getting it as soon as you can, or there's a lot of nuance to it.
Sure.
So
No, that makes sense.
I'm super fascinated now that I know that you're into anthropology and social science, because that's how I approach marketing.
Okay.
I was a teacher with an emphasis in psychology.
Okay.
So like originally I thought I'm no good at marketing. And my friends were like, "That's marketing." Hello. I'm like, "Oh yeah." So when I did it this week, I said, "Look, I know it's really hard when you have to when you ask clients for reviews, and I know that you're busy. I'm busy too. I was just wondering, here's the ways you could do it. You can go to Google My Places, you could go to LinkedIn, you could go to my Facebook page, or you could just reply to this email and I'll just put it on my website,
Yep.
with Beaver Builder or whatever." And actually I got 3 just as replies. One of my friends, that is like a client but also a friend, she goes, "Just write it for me and I'll post it wherever you want." I'm like, that's when it's bad, because
Yeah.
they hired me to do the copywriting. I'm not going to ghostwrite my own review. That's so dumb. Bridget's really awesome. So like, how do you balance, that kind of the social proof with what you want on your website content wise? You know what I mean? Like, I think of course, we're all WordPress people. Everything should be on your own website. Facebook
Yeah.
could die tomorrow. The hurricane could like kill all the data centers or something,
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, if you look at society outside of technology, people are asking for recommendations, and like they're talking about products that they love and that they hate all the time in all kinds of venues and formats. So anything is a review. Like, if I see something good on social media, I may private message them and be like, "Hey, I just want to make sure it's cool. I love what you said. Can I have your permission to put this on my website?"
Uh-huh.
And I will do that. But really, you want it to be everywhere.
As much as you can.
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder, like, from that kind of a standpoint, what people will think of us 30 years from now just by reading Yelp? Just as a side note.
Yeah. It's I mean, this is actually you're asking kind of like an archaeological record question. Like, when they pull this up, yeah, and there's a lot of fake reviews. People use reviews unethically, or they're trying to game the system, and then sometimes somebody's just really upset and leaves a really nasty review that they regret and they can't delete. Or somebody has a screenshot from and it becomes a meme. Like, all kinds of stuff can happen. So how we look back on, I mean, we're still children in the world of social media. We're trying to figure it out. And we're not even really thinking about the legacy, the digital footprint that we're leaving behind. But it is a very fascinating issue to look into.
I know. I was watching this comedy skit the other day. They said, when you looked at these pictures with your grandparents, what we did, it was like a picture of somebody standing in front of something important. And 30 years from now, there's my food. There's another picture of my food. There's a wing of a plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I have a question about just reviews where somebody actually leaves a text comment about the review. So, for instance, I was looking at a couple different WordPress plugins while we were just talking here, and I see a lot of plugins where they're using the freemium model, and people are complaining about how, like, none of the features that are in the premium version are not in the free version of it. So it's like, how do you navigate that? It's like you're getting a 1 star on something that has nothing to do with, like, the fact that, they didn't go and buy the product that was what they're actually, they could be writing a review about, but rather they're writing a review about the free version of it as if it was the paid product. It's like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, here's something else that I'll just share
Especially
about.
when you don't have control over it. It's like, yeah.
Here's something I'll share about me too. Some about me is I'm an extremely empathetic person. Like, I can sense somebody's energy. I can feel their emotions. I can sense their fear. Like, when I am it's one of the reasons I actually prefer to live in the country, because when I'm around lots of people, I can just feel the energy. And when I get somebody who is so reviews, especially when they're hurtful or mean, or they're not even using the review to do the review, they're using it for another purpose or ulterior motive, that kind of thing can be hurtful. So I had to teach myself how to just look at it clinically and objectively. Like, I'll often, as a product person, I will drop into that reviewer's mindset as best I can and try to feel where their perspective and their side, but I'm not going to hang out there for a long time and, feel hurt or something like that.
Right.
But I'm not going to try. So people see the world as they are, not as it is. So I'm not going to try to change their worldview by defending, something like where they're like, a review is not a place to get into a debate. So,
Right.
like even a negative review, oftentimes I'll say, hey, thanks for the feedback. We're always looking to improve. I appreciate it. Anything else, whatever. And we actually have a really strong turnaround record. Whenever somebody leaves critical thing, and I go into it as more of a product person and be like, tell me more. I just want to make sure I understand what didn't work for you here. Sometimes, we actually have a lot of people that refund and then come back because they're like, oh, so they might, and maybe they left a negative review in that process. And then I'll go to the repo or wherever, and I'll see them like, oh, our stars have gone up from that person. And it's because I'm paying attention and I'm sitting with them as they are going through their own buyer's journey, and they're seeing what else is out there. But yeah, you got to not take it personally. And in terms of your question about the free plugin, as a philosophy, and I think a lot of WordPress, well, I don't know if a lot of WordPress companies share this. A lot of them do, is I try to give away as much value as I possibly can for free. Mm-hmm. And then there are ways that we turn into a viable business with add-ons and other things. So when somebody is complaining like, oh, you guys are price gouging, or why isn't this in there? I don't take it. I don't really take it personally, because I know we're doing our best to balance free and viability.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that people are going to leave quote unquote dumb reviews. Like, they're just going to leave a review that they didn't spend the time and energy to really figure out what it was that, like we were joking about earlier, that they're on Amazon and the box shows up and the delivery guy just kind of just chucks it into the pool. And you go like, 1 star, the box is wet because the guy threw it in the pool. Has nothing to do with the product that's inside that box. Has everything to do with like the delivery of the product, So yeah, that's tough.
Another one is just they're using the review for not a review. Like, oftentimes we'll get a feature, we'll get like let's say a medium or low review, but it's actually a feature request. And we have channels for that. We have ways of addressing that. And we have a whole system to make sure we're listening well. But yeah, sometimes people try to use a review for different purposes.
Well, yeah, to get a refund or get something free or get something more. But like, let's assume the world is rainbows and unicorns, because pretty much that's how WordPress lives. What would you recommend to a brand new plugin? Like, brand new, they're gonna have these kinds of issues. How would you, if you're at a panel at Pressnomics or something like that, and they say, how should I deal with these negative reviews? How does it become a feature? Like, how do they channel that? Like, we know that you're coping well with it, but what would you recommend to them to, make it a productive?
My grandfather had a statement, which is, it takes all kinds to make a world. And that really sits with me. Like, there are a lot of people not like you, like product people, and by nature are often kind of empathetic, curious, artistic, open-minded, but your users aren't necessarily of that same kind of thing. They're different. And then within that, there's all kinds of different personality types. And within the entire world, There's all kinds of different cultures and worldviews. So once you accept that and you see the yin and the yang and the dark and the light, and just be okay there. No matter what, you're going to have some tough reviews. And also, I would say mental health is even a real issue in society. And sometimes what comes to you may not much to be about you or your product. It's more about the other person. So just be okay with that. Number 2 is just, you have to ask for it. I remember the first time, or whenever I send like quarterly or so that email, like, hey, would you mind leaving us a review? I never like doing it. I don't like doing it, but I do it. And then sometimes we'll get like a ton of replies, and not all of them are good. The ones that are really like not good or mean, or feature requests posed as testimonials, like, oh, it would be great if you did this. We learn from that. We accept that, and we have a whole system of adding that to our listening system. So don't ignore it. Don't get angry about it. And by the way, the best subject line I've found, if you're going to send that email, is can you do us a solid ? I was really surprised at the first time I sent that, and I got like, I don't know, 50 people filling out the form. So can you do us a solid ? This goes back to another one of Robert Cialdini's principles, which is reciprocity. So the thing here is, if you are giving enough value in your product and you are allowing time to go by for them to activate into the product and receive the value, then that's where that reciprocity happens. So it's less about you getting social proof and more about you asking for a favor. And if you've added value, they'll gladly reciprocate. The other option the other important thing is to make it super simple. When I ask for a review, if I'm sending them to a forum, sometimes I do it where they can't enter their name and email so that it's anonymous. And I'm literally I'm not going to use that, or maybe I'll use it, but I'm really genuinely want feedback. And I don't want people to like think, both good and bad, that I know who they are. And that feedback is almost the most valuable, because there's like no filter. They're like completely anonymous, and they'll say, some people make jokes, some people say amazing things, some people say terrible things, and some people give you really candid, like, oh, you know what? Like 27 people just said we really need to do this. Maybe we should improve that part or add that feature. So it's a thing that you just need to put into your company culture, is what I'm saying. And like, we never stop. We're going to continue to, like, listening is the meta skill.
Yeah.
So do you feel by asking reviews outside of the WordPress installation, you get more reviews, or a better collection of reviews? Because I hate when I'm in the middle of doing something, like I'm writing this blog post, I'm doing all this stuff, and maybe I hit save and I saved it to draft for a second. I go check something else, and then it's like boom, 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 boom. All these things are showing up on the dashboard of my site, and I'm like, what happened here? And now I'm being asked to leave a review for a thing that I don't even remember that I put it on my website, and now it's asking me. It's always like the most like simplest utility plugin that just like, this thing optimizes your images. Cool. Do I use it every day? Nope. It happens all automatically in the background. Yet it wants to know, like, give me my 5 stars. I want these things now. And you're just like, dude, like, calm down. Like, or it rearranges things on the dashboard or something. Yet it's still going to start like, bugging me about some things. It's like, that's super annoying. So you think it's better to do it outside, right?
Well, they're both good. The admin notice thing is definitely an issue in WordPress. And when people use that for reviews, for sure. And it's one of the more alert kind of things that people do. But you have to understand, especially if you have like a paid other plugins and themes and services that are paid, like we have a lot of users that they're not like deep WordPress users. They don't have a login, and that's fine. They're never, even if they say, man, I'd love to help you out, Chris, they're not going to figure out how to even log in there.
Right.
To leave a review, or even
where should I fax that review?
Yeah. Or even the interface of like where to start if you're not logged in is not very clear. So going outside, I wouldn't say you necessarily get better reviews. It's just it's just different because it's a different type of customer that's not more deeply familiar with WordPress. And the other thing I say when I ask for a review is like, I try to take the pressure off and let them know two things. One, I'm looking for positive, negative, or neutral. Like, I'm not trying to sway. Like, I never like it like when it's like, I want 5 stars. Like, I really do want an honest review. So
Give it to me now.
I want an honest review. So I emphasize that, and I'm like, and I also kind of pre-frame the time commitment. It's like, it would do us a huge favor if you could take like 60 seconds and write a 1 or 2 sentence response, or review, positive, negative, or neutral, about our product. It helps us improve and it motivates the team. Thank you. And so the email is like super short. Here's a link to the form or the Google form or Gravity form, whatever you're doing. So those are some top tips.
I love that so hard. So if you're just now joining us, definitely be nice. Ask in the subject line that they do a solid. Make sure you tell them how much the commitment is. Ask for an honest review that's either positive, neutral, or negative. And then just be kind, man. Be kind. So do you ever use your reviews to ask for a case study?
Yes. So like a case study, like from a selling point of view, is like a review or a testimonial on steroids. And what it's doing is it's providing not just social proof, but also proof that your product works. And it's just an even more amplified version of social proof. Plus, people buy a product or choose to invest in a product when they can see other people like them finding success with the product. So when somebody's like, that you can resonate with, like, oh, that guy's or that gal's kind of like me, and they had this huge success. I'm also a big fan of like income disclaimers and not doing like being like, not all results are typical, especially if you're getting into like financial claims and stuff like that. You never want to like make it so unbelievable. And there's also a thing where sometimes people always go after like the extraordinary results, but some people, like if I'm talking about the course or memberships, training-based membership site space, they just want a successful side hustle. And if you start talking about 6 figures or $1 million, even though that does happen, it's going to be unbelievable. So you want to have a mix. So the first time, I always knew I wanted to start putting together case studies, and just like any plugin person, entrepreneur, whatever, and like you mentioned earlier, Bridget, is sometimes it's really hard to like actually work on your own website and do the work to get the reviews and all this stuff. That I just happened to notice. I was just looking at the WordPress plugin reviews, and there was a 5-star, and this woman was saying like, $0 to $300,000 in income in 10 months. And she went into detail about what she liked about LifterLMS. I'm like, whoa, there's something here. And so I emailed her and got more information to do the review. The other thing I do is, so that goes from WordPress repo to, I tried, like what I do as a podcaster person is I try to get them on the podcast and really unpack their story. And then me or someone on my team can actually write the case study for them. Because a lot of people don't want, they may not be writing may not be their thing, or they might just be time strapped. They want to help you. Everybody can jump on a 30-minute call or respond to an email or fill out a more detailed form. Like, we try all these different ways to get a case study. It's actually harder than it sounds, especially for a busy, successful person to be able to do that for you. So yeah, that's basically how that works. And even here's a funny side note. This is like for the advanced user out there. I was just recently working on the README file plugin, or the page in our plugin for the WordPress repository. Some of the best reviews I got, not on the repository, I put inside the copy of the description of the product.
Oh.
So that way, I'm just using it. Because I was like, how do I get that over here? I'm like, oh, well, I just put it in there, because they're not going to go leave the same review again on WordPress.
Right.
So you can, that's just a little advanced tip for
I love that because I was going to ask you if you ever repurpose your reviews.
all the
The
time.
README file is awesome.
Yeah.
If
And
it-
And it
another
shows
one,
longevity too. If you put the date in there, you're actually showing the fact that somebody way back when liked your content or your product as well as now. So I
Yeah.
saw like on your site, you guys kind of mix it up a little bit where you have them throughout the years. People are, kind of responding to their experience.
totally. And we do repurposing on like Instagram was a thing. Like we're actually kind of new to Instagram and as using it as a marketing tool or whatever. And I was like, I hired a service called Design Pickle. I think it costs about $300 a month for kind of unlimited graphic design, so many projects a day. And I'm like, I can't keep them busy like all the time. I mean, I can. They've never had a day off from me, but I had to give them some projects that were big. So I was like, oh, here's one. Take all these reviews. First of all, let's come up with a couple of templates for Instagram. Go take all these reviews and then like format them into Instagram posts. And then I have somebody on my team who helps post those, who copy edits it. We're not changing what they're saying, but if there's like a spelling error or they're like putting a space in Lifter where it shouldn't be or whatever, we fix it.
Yeah.
And then turn it into a beautiful visual piece. So that's another repurposing deal we've done.
Yeah, I used to do that for the travel agency I worked at. And for some of the Instagram clients, I do too. Because let me tell you, Instagram is a greedy platform in the fact that they demand original content.
Okay.
That's a graphic, right? And so like maybe I need to hire those Design Pickle people because I'm just on Canva all the time. Like, oh, okay, I'll find a Yelp review. There it is. Next.
I use Canva too. Like Canva and Design Pickle are something that have really come in handy for us.
Yeah, definitely repurposing reviews, I think, is a important way to kind of expand your content marketing. And even I would put especially on the travel site.
Yeah.
It was a horrible site and some ridiculous CMS. I don't even know what it is. But what I would do is if they were talking about Mexico and this trip that she did, I would throw that review so Yelp is kind of a jerk about these reviews, and they are constantly like saying these reviews aren't that great. So I'm like, well, F you. So I would just copy and paste them and go Nikki from Yelp and then put them on their website where Google could read them and real people, like they did our trip to Fiji. This is a great, blah, 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 whatever. So like, do you ever do things like that where you take the review and put it on a piece of content on your website that it's applicable to?
Yes.
Or do you just keep them siloed on the...
No, I sprinkle them around like salt and pepper because
this is why you're on the show, Chris.
the like, for example, that I mentioned that review where someone was like, I did 0 to 300 in 10 months or whatever. Where do I put that? I also put that on my pricing page. So when someone's like weighing, like Lifter's a premium price product. It's, it's one of the most expensive premium WordPress plugins there is. And when they're weighing the investment, they're going to be thinking about, okay, is this ROI? Is this worth the money? Like, should I invest in my business in this way? So that's and there was another guy who had a review that's something like, I was getting quotes to build a site or something like this for $25,000, and I just did it all with the $300 LifterLMS Universe bundle. You guys are amazing, whatever, something like that. And they put that. So that's a good one for the pricing page. Whereas I have other ones where they rave about a certain feature, and I'm going to want to stick that by the feature page. Like individual product pages, I haven't gotten to that level yet, but it's on my list to be like, have product specific reviews, since we have something like 16 different add-on products, to like have product specific pages. And then even like on the team page, I would put a review where people are talking about like what it's like to work with these people, with us specifically, maybe calling out members of the team by name, like, oh, Sarab support, like totally crushed it in support and solved everything, whatever. Like, yeah, there's like this, context is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What are you guys using to collect those reviews? Do you just use a form, or do you are you using a special plugin to do this? And how are you guys collecting them?
Right now, we're just using a form, and
Okay.
and sometimes it's just an email, like just hit reply, and if you fill it out, and I try to. So I'm in the software business. That means I'm in the reduction of friction business. So I need to make it super like easy for a busy person to still help if they want to.
Yeah.
So I'll even do stuff like, people get really hung up on the picture, right? But I want a picture. So ideally, I still have reviews where I don't have a picture and I do a circle with the first letter of their name. Like I'll get creative, but what I'll say is, I'll make the picture optional, and then maybe say something, put a checkbox or something, be like, or maybe not even put a checkbox, but have a message to say like, hey, if you don't upload a picture, unless we hear differently, we'll just grab your Twitter for you. So it's like, it's less work for them to do. And people like get really hung up on the image thing. And I mean, me recently as an online business person, only in the past year did I actually get a professional headshot. And I was always just, and I kind of like that. It's just part of our brand. I'm like, we're just regular people.
I mean, these cameras are amazing. They even have portrait mode now.
Yeah. And also another thing I do is I ask for logos. Like, this is another hack is, since I have a platform plugin, sort of like WooCommerce is an e-commerce, Lifter is a learning management system. It's a platform. It's not a utility that like does one thing.
Yeah.
So what happens, since the website kind of is the business, they're going to have a logo associated with that business. So I have a whole other thing where I just request logos, and I don't ask for a testimonial or anything. I'm just like, it's just like a form with an upload file. I don't even ask for their email address. I'm like, send me your logo. I have a logo wall with like 100 logos on it. And I don't care. Like, this is part of our brand where we do it a little differently. There's big brands using LifterLMS. But like a lot of the big brands they're actually more reticent to give you their logo. But if you go to our that logo page thing, I will put people up there who don't necessarily even have, like, it's not the professional logo.
Yeah.
You're not going to recognize the name. They might be in an industry like that it like seems kind of a little edgy or whatever. And but that's the reality. So I'm just showing reality, and like that's another form of a review, is to just have that kind of logo just sitting there.
I love that. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm very.
That's over on this one, right? The logo request.
I think so, probably. Yeah,
that's cool. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm impressed for somebody who started this show by saying that you're not a marketer.
I see. She does this to me too. She's like, no, you're a marketer, Jason. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are.
I'm pretty like, the only thing I would suggest is like tweeting him out.
Yeah,
right.
You're doing everything else.
Everybody's in sales. I mean, Jason, you mentioned you're a parent, and like when our kids are young, I mean, we're selling ideas. We're trying to influence them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I work with a lot of teachers and coaches who may not be like business people or marketers. They're trying to influence people and like sell ideas or models and frameworks. Everybody's in sales and marketing. It's just a question. I used to think it was weird when I was in college because I didn't study marketing or anything there. I'm like, why do they call that business stuff? Why do they call it communication? Like, but that's it. It's communication. That's all it is.
Because talking would have been really lame, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's why we love video so much, because so much of communication's nonverbal.
Yeah.
You know, so those.
Totally.
I mean, that's why this show is video. I mean, people listen to it. There are people who only listen to the sound. I never see how sweaty I am in the summer, which is awesome. I think we need to sell more of the podcasts in the summer.
Here's one for you. You have to have thick skin, because when you go on the record, like, for example, I put my face on a lot of stuff. I don't want to do that. I'm actually a very private person, but I know that people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So I just want people to see who they're talking to. So that's what I do. But sometimes, like, let's say that email, I'm thinking back, I sent like, hey, would you mind filling out a review? And, someone came back with a really mean comment about how I was like a narcissist and I put my face on everything and, I need to get over myself. And so this stuff is going to happen like for like 1% of the time. And you have to like have thick skin about it. And of course it like hurt a little bit, but I know stuff like that happens. So the longer I'm in business, the more it's water off a duck's back. So.
Yeah, clearly they don't know that you're on Walden Pond over there with your course creating shed in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
They have not seen your Instagram, Chris. But I will say this, if you're tired of unreliable or slow hosting, check out Kinsta.com, who takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by Google Cloud, all their plans include PHP 7.3, SSH access for developers or non-developers, one-click staging area, 20 global data centers, free SSL, free CDN, 24/7 expert support, who will also migrate your site free of charge. That's crazy. Go to kinsta.com, kinsta.com for more. Okay, so I have like a joke tip, but this is serious, people. Listen up. This is your friend Bridget. If you are dating and you're male or female and it's over a meal, do not talk while you're chewing your food. Close your mouth while you're chewing. This is stuff that we learned in kindergarten. And this is what's going to kill your... I thought maybe this is why this guy's divorced. She just couldn't take it anymore. 10 years of watching this man eat. And she said, that's it. I'm out. So, but no, for real. Today I went to a Barnes & Noble store because I was looking for something for my WordPress talk over at Vegas, which I can't tell you what ruins the surprise. But I couldn't believe how amazing it was to be in a bookstore. Because I'm always shopping on Amazon.com. And there's something about it. My roommate and I we were in it the whole thing. We just wandered around with free air conditioning. I was touching things, trying to get ideas for my object lesson. I love object lessons. And man, oh man, I could have spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars in there. Books, journals, stickers, gifts, books about, the BBC specials that I always love. There was a whole book just on the sonnets from Shakespeare. It made me want to write. It made me want to create. And I just feel like maybe if you're stuck in a creative rut, go to a bookstore and just wander around. Because there are so many things, like so many books. I'm like, I could have wrote that. I could have wrote that. I could have wrote that. But you know what? I didn't. And they did. And that's why theirs are for sale. And I still haven't even made courseware with LifterLMS. But the bookstore was so rad. I just felt so, like pumped up. I felt like a little kid again. I almost wanted to go into the little kid section and read A Very Hungry Caterpillar and just kind of reconnect with that childhood of wonder and curiosity that makes us creative. And, when we're writing and creating and building websites and all the things that we do in WordPress, sometimes it's just like, oh, this person didn't do this and this person didn't do that, and and you get in the drudgery of the task. And you forget why we love it so much. We're publishing. We're creating. It's amazing. So go to a bookstore.
Go to a bookstore.
A real one. A physical bookstore.
And there's plenty of them out there. There's even the Last Bookstore in Los Angeles. If you want to go to the last one, there's one called the Last Bookstore. It's in LA. Awesome. I'll share mine if you don't mind, Chris, and then you can jump in if you like after that. So I've been a fan of this app on my phone, and I use my phone as my computer. This thing is like my computer throughout the day. This is all I'm using is this guy when I'm out running around. And so I've been using this app for a couple of years now. It's actually what I use to make all the graphics on WPwatercooler's show thumbnails. So for YouTube and stuff. And so I've been using this app for a while now, and it's called WordSwag.
Huh.
And WordSwag is an app that you can just load up and just type in some words, do a quick search for a graphic. It sticks a graphic in the background, and you're good to go. But that's not my tool or tip. So my tool or tip is a new app that they just came out with. That's kind of a spin-off of it called StorySwag.
Oh.
And what StorySwag does is it makes it so that you can actually make stories for social media posts. So if you're doing like Instagram stories or Facebook stories or something like that, you can take the app and pick like the photos that you want to stick on there. And then you can kind of swipe between the photos that you've put on there, and it'll make a little story out of it. And it'll play the video and kind of put text above it and change the filter. So if you want to change the filter of it, you could do that. And it's a really cool little app that I've been playing around with. And I haven't actually posted anything yet with it, because this just came to me over like over this last day. But it's just a fun little app of picking a bunch of photos and then putting some text over them, and then just have them kind of run through that and post that onto social media. So that's StorySwag, and it's by the company that makes WordSwag.
I love it.
So yeah, just do a search in the App Store for StorySwag, and you'll be able to find it.
Cool. So my tip on the topic of communication, I just got a Apple Pencil 2 and an iPad. iPad Pro. I've never had an iPad before, but the reason I got it was for visual communication. Sometimes when I get into more complex topics or frameworks and models, and I've learned this by seeing some people, successful course creators and coaches, teach more through these models and giving people tools, not just ideas and information, but like things that they can implement with. So my tool tip is the Apple Pencil, and you can, if you're doing a Zoom session or whatever, and you switch to the tablet or whatever, you can start drawing your diagrams and your journeys and stuff like that. So that's my tip.
That would be awesome. Do you know how many times I was at a word camp where I wish I had a whiteboard?
Yeah.
More often than not.
That's going to be super helpful coming up here if you're using a Mac, because they have a new feature called Sidecar that's going to be coming out once they announce the new version of the operating system. There's a thing called Sidecar, and Sidecar gives you using that iPad as a second screen. So you can actually have that screen just show up and be able to use that. So if you wanted to draw or want to do anything, you're now using like almost like a touch screen screen for your Mac. So that's cool. You're going to enjoy that a lot more, Chris, once that comes out, because you're gonna be like, wow, I'm not going to be able to draw on this. Now I can move things around and really interact with it with your hands. So nice. and with a pencil. So pretty awesome.
Very cool.
That was awesome. Because right now it's not really that easy.
Yeah, I mean there's other tools that will do it, but to be able to at least use as a second screen. But with it built in, it's going to be really, really sweet.
Yeah, because I thought about like doing instructional video with like Instagram, but like how are you supposed to do that when it's all on your phone? I'm sure there's a way. But I like my little, Screencast-O-Matic thing, and I was just like, oh, this is so dumb. I wish Instagram wasn't just so limited on their desktop version, But if you had the iPad, that would be the mobile version, then you could just use that as like a screen.
Yeah.
Easy lemon squeezy.
There you go.
Yes, Bridget, what else do we got here? We got a couple more minutes left, right? And then we can finish up here.
Yeah. So we did our tool or tips. Let's go back to reviews.
We'll do the pastoral method where you talk about it first, and then you do some discussion about it, and then you go back and you do a full recap.
Well, no, I mean that's actually it's one of the best ways to learn.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I prefer the Socratic method, and where you ask questions so that people discover it themselves.
Yes.
So since you're a teacher, what is one of the best ways people can create courses? Just on LMS. Like, what are the best kinds of curriculum? Is there does it
Yeah.
make it
That's
easier
a
to
great question. So I have a podcast with 240 episodes about this called LMS Cast. But
Yes.
I'm going to help you out. There's a model that I teach. There's like 4 or 5 course frameworks. One of them, so you're an expert, you're inside the bottle, you can't see the label on the outside, and people get stuck here a lot. I hate seeing course creators fail or fail to launch or just get stuck because it happens way too much. But these frameworks can help unlock you, which are the Learn a Process course, so how to build a website from scratch, the behavior change course, like if you're trying to quit a bad habit of some kind. There is what I call a case study course. This is where we're being the researcher, and this is a good one for people who feel like, I'm super passionate about this topic and I study everything about it, but I'm not the A player myself. But you can actually teach a lot through case studies. The fourth is the most dangerous and also the most common, which people make, which I don't recommend in most cases. And it's called the resource course. This is where you as an expert, throw up a site and you just create either this gigantic course or create a membership that has like so many courses in it, where it's like literally a library of your legacy of knowledge. That is
it's called a narcissistic course.
It's not narcissist. It's actually the better you are at what you do, the more likely you are to have this problem. And I'll give you a pro tip after I mention the last type, which is just the hybrid, where you kind of mix and match some elements of those. And my pro tip is, if you are going to do a resource course, you have to add coaching, because people, and what you need to do is when they join your program, you have to do an onboarding session where you get into their psychology and their situation, and then you guide them to be like, okay, what you need is this part of my material, this part, this part, this part, in this order. Don't go binge watching everything. Do this first, and then we'll meet again in a month or 6 months or whatever, and we'll do it again.
Just like college, because you don't just go to college and just start taking classes. You have to do it in a certain order. You have a counselor who tells you what you should take.
Yeah, based on your goals and your personality or whatever. Yeah. So you have to be a guide. And the big thing, too, for people is there's a mindset thing. The most successful course creators do not focus on the whole make money online thing. It's all about me, guru, like paywall, pay me, come to my sermon, come to my thing, and whatever. The best and most successful course creators focus like a laser on, they have to fall in love with their customer, and then they delight them and they serve them. But most importantly, they solve their problems and they get results, and they're obsessed with that transformation that they can create in another person. And most of them have already proven that they can create that for themselves. So the first sell is you actually have to sell yourself, because a lot of people have a bunch of issues around, just am I good enough to do this, or who am I to whatever. So you have to get through all that. And the best way to do that is to just focus on the community you want to serve and help them. The money will come, or, all that will come, but it's not what you put first.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That does make sense. That makes complete sense to me.
Do you see a lot of your customers using your product to be able to explain somebody else's product? So for instance, let's say that they have like 3 or 4 different programs that they use in their internal either sales or marketing or what have you, and you have all these people that work in their office, and they're wanting to kind of teach those people how to use the tools that they're already paying for, but they need to do it the way that that they've kind of found as like the best practices to do it, instead of writing up a whole kind of best practices document that is just gonna die on the vine the second you type that up. How do you take, you can take those videos, those different articles that are already written by the company, maybe they've been tweaked so it makes more sense for the language of that industry or whatever that they're using it in. So you've seen that the people are using that to be able to kind of teach their internal folks how to use, those different tools.
Yeah. So are you saying like, so there's people who make courses for profit, but there's also people that use courses
like an internal intranet type thing, or something
internal
like that.
training, we call it.
Yeah.
There's a huge value capture there. What the problem is, a lot of management or leaders, they just say when a new hire comes in, they're like, shadow Bridget. And then what happens if Bridget quits, or what? Like, this is what actually happens. But there are people who, like, I see companies using LifterLMS to, I heard that Delta Airlines was using Lifter to train people, like, internally for something. There's like pizza companies that train people with iPads at stations on how to make the pizza. There's that kind of stuff is a niche within the LMS industry, for sure. And as a side note, if you're really good at a certain kind of tool, it's usually not the creator of the tool that makes the best training on how to use the tool. So just keep that in mind. Like,
that is so true. And I'm going to tell you something I learned when I was going to college for teaching. When I was in my science class, they said, science for teachers, they make you take this stupid BS stuff. You can't test that up. And I said, oh, I don't understand why I can't test out of this. And they said, oh, Bridget, you're going to have a really hard time teaching math and science. I said, why? It's my best subjects. That's why. And you won't get why they don't get it. So when I was doing my student teaching, all of a sudden I had to teach time. I got the remedial group having to teach time. It killed me. I could not handle the fact that I couldn't teach them. So one day we became the clock. I had 12 kids sitting around a circle, 2 in the middle, one had a long hand, one had a short hand. Everybody had a number. When they would point at, like, the short hand would point at the 2, and then the long one would point at the, at the 3, and then they would have to say 2, 15. But that took me weeks and weeks and weeks. And it was because of that one teacher saying that one thing that helped me realize that what you're good at isn't necessarily what you're good at teaching.
Yeah,
that's an excellent point. Yeah, there's a concept of, like, I'm too close to it sometimes. I mean, you just have to learn how to do it. Yeah.
I mean, that's cool. A whole other, thing where you're.
Oh, we'll have Chris back, and he's going to teach us how to do some of this stuff. It's inevitable, Bridget.
No. But what I mean is, like, people document their processes and they skip steps. The only way to test your process is to go by that process only. But we don't always document things. It's super easy. Like, when I would go on vacation back when I was a secretary, I had to take a picture of how to put the checks in the printer, because every printer is going to be completely different, even though there's only 4 different ways to put the checks in. And so they would go like, what do we do? I'm like, here's it. And I taped it to the printer. And then I sent out instructions. There was only 2 people.
And they still couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. But that's real life. It's really hard. And then people weren't folding envelopes correctly. The highest video I have on YouTube on my channel is me folding a letter size piece of paper to go in a number 10 envelope.
Solve a problem. Good course creator or a good course solves the problem. It's not about the person with the knowledge.
I know.
And I'm just going to give you one more power tip because I want to see your course come out, Bridget. There's a concept called spiral learning. So if you are really good at something and you're an expert, you just got to kind of go around your learner and help them make progress around all the different areas. You don't have to give them like the deluxe on day one. You keep going around, you're building competency, you start adding more complexity. That's a way, if you're kind of stuck in like, I know too much, like do a small circle first, like do a small lap before you do a bigger one and a bigger one.
I love that.
It's just one way to think about it.
That is probably a great tip for product development too, Chris.
It is. Yeah, like an MVP.
Yeah.
So like a minimum viable product that has like a lot of people do it wrong. They like really build out one feature, but really it should be a sliver of like all the features that makes a complete use case. That's the way to do it.
That's
Chris,
valuable advice.
thank you for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. Bridget and I had a good time talking to you about this stuff, and I'm hoping that we can get some reviews. And I'm going to ask our folks here if you're listening to us as a podcast, audio podcast, go into whatever it is that you're listening to us in, and click on the little review button and type in a little review.
Would you do us a solid?
Do us a solid. Exactly. Go do us a solid. Leave us a review.
We're fast learners here.
We're fast learners. So yeah, go over to our website over at WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. That's where you can learn to subscribe to this and all the other product stuff that we have going on over at WP Watercooler. We would really appreciate it. And Chris, thank you very much for hanging out with us again. We really appreciate you taking the time out to be able to hang out with us. And lastly, thank you for our sponsors for helping us out, pay the bills. We really appreciate it. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Bye-bye.